I received many emails from y'all requesting me to upload a video that went into more detail about the handheld transceivers I use, specifically the Motorola XPR 7550E and the Motorola XTS 5000, hence this video. But before I get into this video, I'd like to share two things with you. I was in New York City playing tennis in Central Park last week, and the player next to me asked me, "Hey, are you that guy that does those emergency walkie-talkie videos?" And I replied back and I said, well, there's a lot of people that do emergency walkie-talkie videos, and I do have a channel that discusses those type of things, but I don't know if I'm that guy. And she goes, "Oh, you're that guy. I recognize your face." I go, "Great." She went on to ask me, "I sent you an email. Why didn't you reply back?" And I'd like to share the answer I gave to her with all of you in case you experience the same thing. If you're not on my list of contacts, my list of approved contacts, you will never get an email from me. And that's because Melissa, my assistant, will never see your emails in my in-basket, nor will she see your telephone calls reaching my mobile phones, nor your text messages reaching my mobile phones, because she placed very strict filters in all my mobile phones, text messages, and emails. And unless you're in my approved list of contacts, you will not bypass those protocols. And if by chance you happen to, you will still not get a reply back from me, because Melissa would recognize that your phone number and or your email address is not part of my list of approved contacts, and she will just automatically delete them without reading them. I do this for one specific reason. My father taught me at a very early age to be selective with whom I hang and to be very selective with whom I let into my life. And I spent many, many years getting to the level that I am right now of adding people into my life and deleting people from my life. And now I have a good small group of people in my approved list of contacts that adds value to my life, and I hope I add value to their lives. So that's the reason you will not get a reply back from me if you are not on my list of approved contacts. And now my final statement before we get into the video. I am on the board of directors for one of Motorola's companies. Hence, I have a pecuniary interest in Motorola's financial success. So if you were to ask me what type of transceiver you should purchase, I will answer the question, you should purchase a Motorola. Not only because I have a pecuniary interest in Motorola's financial success, but I used Motorola transceivers before I was on the board of directors. And I used Motorola transceivers in all my mission critical events as well as all my social events. And I had nothing but successful experiences with Motorola transceivers. So now that I've made those two statements, let's get into the video. Viewer camera center is my Motorola XTS 5000R. And in one of my videos in my YouTube channel, I mentioned that this is one of my favorite handheld Motorola transceivers. And this is the only secondhand transceiver in my entire inventory. I always purchase my Motorola equipment brand new from the Motorola factory. I purchased this particular unit from a ham operator I knew very well. He was getting ready to die, so he was selling off his gear. So I purchased this particular unit for $150 US. Once I took possession and custody of it, I sent it to the Motorola company of which I sit on the board of directors, and they did a full spectrum test on it. And of course, this particular transceiver was not out of specifications. And that's the nice thing about buying Motorola's. They're built with quality and they seldom get out of specifications. Viewer camera left is my Motorola XTS 5000 Model 2 UHF Range 2. Viewer camera center is my Motorola XTS 5000R Model 2 UHF Range 1. And viewer camera right is my Motorola XTS 5000 Model 3, 700 to I think 800 megahertz. And the difference between the Model 2 and the Model 3 is the Model 3 has a full keypad. And if you're going to go into front panel programming, you definitely want the XTS 5000 Model 3. My Motorola XTS 5000 Model 3 at one time was affiliated with the Sheriff's Office. This was the transceiver I used anytime I was activated by the Sheriff's Office, and the Radio Depot department installed their base image into this transceiver, which meant I was unable to use the front panel programming to make any adjustments to the frequencies or to the behavior of the transceiver. All I can do was turn it on, turn the knob to the channel that I was instructed to go to, and use the push to talk button. This is the Hulk, my Motorola APX 8000HXE, which took the place of my Motorola XTS 5000 Model 3. As I mentioned, my XTS 5000 Model 3 was once affiliated with the Sheriff's Office. After I got my Motorola APX 8000HXE, my Motorola XTS 5000 Model 3 was decommissioned as an asset with the Sheriff's Office. My APX 8000HXE is now affiliated with the Sheriff's Office and registered as an asset with the Sheriff's Office anytime I'm activated as a volunteer with that particular Sheriff's Office. These two handheld transceivers are my Motorola XPR 7550E as in Echo. There's also a non-E version. Viewer camera left is the VHF band, and viewer camera right is the UHF band. The XPR 7550E and non-E version use the DMR digital network, and that's Delta Mike Romeo. Ham operators use DMR Tier 2, and commercial and business users, as well as law enforcement and military, use DMR Tier 3 with encryption. Hence, the Motorola XPR 7550E and non-E versions are very versatile transceivers. I definitely recommend this model if you're an operator that's interested in getting into Motorola transceivers for the first time. It's a lot easier to program than the Motorola XTS 5000, and if you're a ham operator, you're going to use DMR Tier 2 more often than P25 Phase 1, which is the digital network for the Motorola XTS 5000 series. If you want to do auxiliary volunteer work for a military branch or for a first responder agency, you need to know the frequency bands that they use and the digital network that they use, if any. My work with the U.S. Coast Guard, they use VHF band analog, and they also use UHF P25. So I can use my Motorola APX 8000HXE, which has the VHF band, as well as the UHF P25 Phase 1 and Phase 2. When I used to do work with the fire department prior to the pandemic, they only use VHF analog. So I can use my Motorola XPR 7550E VHF band, my Motorola XTS 5000 VHF band, or my Motorola APX 8000HXE, which has VHF band in it. With my work with the Sheriff's Office, they use 700/800 megahertz, and they use P25 Phase 1, which means I can use my Motorola XTS 5000, or I can use my Motorola APX 8000HXE. So it's important to know the agency's frequency band and the digital network, if any, that they use. Sometimes the agency will provide you with transceivers, but most likely they won't, which means you have to get your own. Motorola's use super heterodyne technology, and they all have effective front-end filters. None of my Motorola's ever got desensitized or experienced cross-modulation or frequency drift while in close proximity of other operators during a mission-critical event. So if you're going to do volunteer auxiliary work with a military branch or with a first responder agency, make sure you purchase a transceiver that has super heterodyne technology and has an effective front-end filter like a Motorola transceiver.